Once again, we've got a windy day in Colorado. Thanks for being here at 9 News at 3. I'm Alexandra Lewis.
And I'm Sam Shocker. The difference is today it is incredibly warm outside. Can you believe it? We do want to get straight to our chief meteorologist, Kathy Sabine, because we're actually worried about fire danger. Can you believe it? In December.
I know, and nobody wants to worry about fire danger any month out of the year, Sam, and it's something that we do worry about year-round in Colorado, especially with a strange weather pattern like this that is so warm, so dry, and so windy. There is some good news in that regard, though, so let's start by going out. We have some blue sky out there, a little bit of cloud cover, and a little bit of wind, but the trend is for decreasing wind and better travel over some of those high mountain passes where we had blowing snow. The worst of the wind now is actually in southeastern Wyoming and in some of the foothill areas like Loveland Pass up to Dumont and Estes Park. The winds, though, prompting a red flag warning, a fire weather warning, high fire danger with humidity levels low, winds still pretty gusty. This will continue through 5 o'clock, but the trend will be for decreasing wind. And the temperatures, we're typically in the mid 40s this time of year. We are 20 degrees warmer than that in downtown Denver, and there are 70s on the map in southeastern Colorado. We're seeing the high and mid-level cloud deck stream in from the northwest, but notice the moisture is outside our region, and that's a trend that will continue throughout the evening and for much of the day tomorrow. So this evening, we're in the mid-60s now. We drop to the mid-50s by 7 o'clock. It is mild and it is dry. Your weather headlines include details on fire weather warnings, that foothill wind forecast, and we're all focused on the weekend and the big Broncos game on Sunday. The Packers are coming to town.
All right, Kathy, thank you. Let's get to these headlines here as we continue talking about the wind. It's wreaking some havoc out at DIA. According to FlightAware, the airport has seen nearly 800 delayed flights so far. Throughout the day, DIA has seen a few ground delays as well. The FAA says people were waiting on average more than 90 minutes due to all this wind.
Incredible video shows the moment a plane collided with a car while it was driving on the highway. So this happened in Brevard County, Florida, earlier this week. The plane was attempting to make an emergency landing on I-95 when it came down on the Toyota Camry. 911 calls came pouring in from other drivers.
A plane just landed on the highway.
A small plane landed on I-95 going southbound.
I-95, a plane just came down.
Wow, incredibly, the driver of that car only had minor injuries, thankfully, and the two people inside that plane, they were not hurt. The NTSB Florida Highway Patrol and the FAA are now investigating what went wrong and if anyone was at fault.
For the second time in just as many weeks, the Justice Department has failed in its legal battle against New York Attorney General Letitia James. Today, a grand jury declined to bring an indictment against her. A separate grand jury came to the same conclusion last week. Letitia James had pleaded not guilty to bank fraud charges before the case was dismissed when a judge determined the prosecutor had been improperly appointed to her position. The prosecutor is Lindsay Halligan, a former insurance attorney from Colorado who's never prosecuted a case.
My pillow guy, Mike Lindell, may run for Minnesota governor in 2026. He made the announcement on social media today, and state records show paperwork has been filed indicating he may launch that campaign very soon. Lindell is a close ally of President Trump and has promoted election disinformation, including claims that voting machines were rigged. If he enters the race, he'd run as a Republican and face several other contenders in the primary to choose who will face incumbent Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
Today on Capitol Hill, the Trump administration seized an oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast amid rising tensions with the country. At the same time, lawmakers are trying and failing to fix health care before people are faced with higher health care premiums in the new year. NBC's Yamiche Alcindor has the latest.
The Trump administration escalating tensions with Venezuela, seizing an oil tanker off the coast of the South American nation.
The United States currently has a full investigative team on the ground on the vessel, and the United States does intend to seize the oil. However, there is a legal process for the seizure of that oil, and that legal process will be followed.
Administration officials say the tanker was carrying sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran.
It was a successful operation directed by the president to ensure that we're pushing back on a regime that is systematically covering and flooding our country with deadly drugs.
Video posted by Attorney General Pam Bondi shows members of the Coast Guard rappelling onto the tanker to carry out a seizure warrant. Venezuela's foreign minister calling the operation blatant theft and an act of international piracy. It's the latest move against the authoritarian leader of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. And adding insult to injury, this year's Nobel Peace Prize winner, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, says the U.S. helped her get out of the country to collect her award in Oslo.
I am very hopeful Venezuela will be free.
Meanwhile, over on Capitol Hill, lawmakers wrestling with the rising cost of health care. Today, the Senate took up two dueling plans from Republicans and Democrats, but both failed.
The suffering of people is going to be enormous and heart-wrenching.
Healthcare is in a crisis. It's in a crisis. It should not cost this much.
The Republican plan would have created health savings accounts valued at $1,000 to $1,500, which low-income families could use. But Democrats and some healthcare experts say that's not nearly enough to cover costs. The Democratic plan would have extended ACA subsidies for 3 years, but Republicans say that's just giving money to insurance companies. With no clear plan in the works, the ACA subsidies are set to expire on December 31st, so the new year could bring a new set of expenses for millions of Americans. Yamiche Alcindor, NBC News, the White House.
While the vote was happening on Capitol Hill, we spoke with Colorado Senator Michael Bennet. The Democrat said he's not optimistic lawmakers will find a solution before people see their health care prices rise in the new year, and he puts the blame on the president.
I think anything that we do now is going to be much later than it should have been, and people's expectations and their plans for the future are all being disturbed right now because they don't have the predictability that they need to be able to make the decision. So I cannot predict. I could not predict a moment when Donald Trump might try to ride to the rescue and say he's going to solve this problem. But he has been absent, and now he's really late. So I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, but I wouldn't count on it.
Senator Bennet also went on to blame the Republican leadership as a whole, and he said this comes at a time when Washington, D.C. is, quote, incapable of acting on some of the most important issues that we face. As a reminder, the lack of health care subsidies were the main reason the Democrats held out during that 6-week-long government shutdown.
The U.S. could end the year with a second surge of measles cases. According to new data from the CDC, 84 new cases of measles were reported nationwide in the past week. That's more cases in a single week since April, when the outbreak in West Texas was at its peak. Now an outbreak in South Carolina is driving this second surge. The state has seen at least 114 cases since October, mostly in unvaccinated people.